I'm going to say this in the most respectful way. I'm just not interested. I think you seem to be very young, so I think you have really good intentions with how you are approaching this. But baby, I'm 32 years old and I've gone through this way more and way longer than you've been alive. So, with all due respect, I'm good. What I suggest you doing is reading the entirety of the Bible for yourself, not just New Testament, both books. Come to your own conclusions and do what you got to from there. Christians have this perspective that divinity only works through one modality, when you have no clue what connection I have to the divine at all. I personally don't find the worth in worshiping or being connected to a deity that would send any of its creations to eternity to suffer. I don't think that that's a very loving force within creation. Every higher power that I've ever associated with has been nothing but insanely patient, loving, kind, wise, and would never, ever hope to see me suffer simply because I didn't believe in them. To be completely honest, I've done cursed divinity out in some very, very heavy ways during some of my experiences, and I've still been met with nothing but love and compassion and kindness. I think that is a better example of how divinity is, compared to not being able to question anything, compared to not being able to voice your opinion, compared to not being able to even consider there being an alternative without being punished by what you supposed to be your maker. And they also don't preach the concept of you having to exist a certain way or you being punished for it. And it's also important to note that the Bible is not your experience with God. It is everybody else's experiences, supposedly, that you are hearing. So, what I would personally recommend doing from my perspective is learning how to connect to divinity yourself without there being some middleman, without there being the Bible, and seeing what you can do. I quite literally walk through my day and divinity will tell me jokes. They will guide me to better revelations, understanding, give me warnings before something transpires. And I don't have to look back 2,000 years. I can look right here, right now, and connect to them at any given point in time that I want to. I've had divinity send me messages through cartoons in the most crazy and like magical ways. So I'm perfectly good off of the Bible. I have my own connection with that, which we call the divine. And I suggest you getting your own connection directly to it so that way you don't have to worry about what somebody else's experience and what somebody else's definition of God or the universe or divinity is. That way you're able to have your own perspective and know for yourself what divinity is. Because from the perspective that I hold, the Bible insults any aspect of God. It is an attempt to define an infinite being. And in their attempts to understand something that is significantly greater than them, they reduce it painfully into something that is bastardized, into something that is hateful, into something that is not kind or loving at all. From the perspective that I hold, I'll always use this analogy. Say there's just giant circle, and all that is what we consider to be God, the universe, or creation. This entire giant circle, right? What Christians and what people in religion tend to do is point at one tiny part in that circle, right? One tiny part in that circle. And while that little section is technically God, so is that part, so is that part, so is this part, so is that part, and so is all of that circle. The issue is I see the entire circle, you guys only see one point within that circle. So, from the perspective that I have, you diminish that concept. You do it no justice. You take something that is so great in scale and shove it into a tiny box and then try to tell me that that is all of divinity to be experienced. From the perspective that I hold, religion is grabbing a cup of water from the ocean and then telling somebody that this is all of the ocean. And while technically speaking, there are contents within that cup that do reflect the ocean, it's just not the entire thing. It's not even a fraction of it. So then I'm going to ask, do you think that humans can fully understand the magnitude of creation and much less put it within one book, one perspective? Or do you think that there could be the potential that creation might be a little bit bigger than you have given it credit for?